Happy Friday. It is August 29th, 2025, and we're back for an end of the week check-in here as we end a week and a month, and for many of us, kind of ending a season. In the United States, we've got Labor Day coming up on Monday, and historically, at least when I was growing up, that meant it was sort of the last hurrah before you went back to school. Now, a lot of schools now in different places in the U.S. are back in school in mid or late August, but I think there's still some places where you start school again after the Labor Day holiday. So for a lot of us, maybe it's the Gen Xers, we're always nostalgic about Labor Day and what it means. It's kind of the last weekend of summer. So a lot of people will take a little trip or a vacation or something. So if you're in the States, what are you going to do this Labor Day? Leave a comment. If you're on Substack, I really encourage you to leave a comment. Maybe I'll start prompting. I'll figure out how to make that easier and more fun to do as we move forward. But I'm in this for the long haul, so I'm going to take it slowly and just keep going. All right. So weather today in the New York City area, it's going to be in the upper 70s Fahrenheit. I think 77 Fahrenheit, kind of cloudy. It kind of feels like a fall day, to be honest, cloudy fall day. So where else can we look today? And for some reason, this is no science to it. It's just, I just look at the global map and I go, where do I want to look at the weather today? And for some reason, Chiang Mai, Thailand. Now, I've never actually been to Chiang Mai. I've been to Thailand, but never Chiang Mai. But Chiang Mai, on the mainland of Thailand, is, let's see, today's high 91 degrees, rainy and cloudy. Oh, it must be so humid. My goodness. Well, 73% humidity. Okay. 2 miles per hour wind. That is a 29 degrees Celsius high. So 29 degrees Celsius, 85 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm sure it's very sticky like the rice, but boy, is that rice good. And the curry. So now maybe I was just hungry for Thai food. I don't know. What's the food that you think of when you are hungry? Like, what's your, I don't want to say exotic because it's not exotic there, but the food that's not from your native place that you just absolutely love. What is that for you? As we go into this long weekend, and I haven't decided whether I'm going to podcast on the holiday, on Monday itself. Right now, I'm thinking I will, but this may be a 3-day weekend. We'll see. As we go into the weekend, I was just thinking about bravery and courage and what that can mean when you're doing it for the purpose of helping other people. So, I don't know, somehow my YouTube algorithm knows that I like to watch disaster films or something. I'm not sure what that says about me, but I was reminded of the story because I've remember it from years ago of another story from the Titanic disaster. And it involves a guy named Frank Winold Prentice, who was, I think, a storekeeper. And he met this woman, Virginia Estelle Clark, on the deck after the collision. And she was a honeymooner. She was having trouble with her life vest. So he helped her with that. And in the video I watched on YouTube, he explains, and I'm reading some things from online, but I'm remembering what I saw in the video, and they reconcile pretty well. So I think it's a fairly accurate accounting, at least, of what he said in the video. But Virginia Clark, being a newlywed and a wife, and I mean, she was concerned about her husband who wasn't around, and she didn't want to get in the lifeboat. And Frank convinced her to do it. He helped her with the life vest, and then he said, it'll be okay. Just get on the lifeboat. I'm sure your husband will join you later. And she really didn't want to, and he convinced her to do it. And so she gets on the lifeboat, and he was explaining that, those, as I recall, and you may too, that the first lifeboats were not full because people didn't want to get in them. It was scary to get in the lifeboats, and most people didn't think that Titanic was going to sink. So, why get on this boat and go down into this icy water when I'm sure it'll be fine? Well, that picture changed quite rapidly, but it took over 2 hours for the thing to sink. But she gets on the lifeboat, and Frank goes about helping other people. And, long story short, he ends up clinging to a wooden board as the ship listed and kind of went up into the air, and he's going higher and higher, and he fell into the water. And he's in this freezing water, and he's assuming he's going to die. But there's a boat in the water, and suddenly he didn't see it, but suddenly he's near a boat, or they saw him. I'm not sure exactly how that worked, but there was one of the lifeboats, and they pull him into the boat, and he said there was actually a dead firefighter in the boat who had frozen to death. And there was a little bit of water in the bottom of the boat, and there was a body in the boat, literally, with these survivors. But mostly it was women and children. And he was freezing. He had been in the water. He'd been out in the cold. He was exposed. And he basically thought, prior to getting in the boat, he was sure he was going to die. And even in the boat, he wasn't so sure. And then he notices Virginia, the woman that he helped, is in the boat. And she's wearing some kind of frock, or, I don't know what kind of coat it was, but it was a cloak, I think is how he described it in the video that I saw. And she wrapped him in that and basically helped to save his life. And I don't know what happened to her husband. I assume that he didn't make it. But what an amazing story. And here's a guy who's just helping others, and he displayed such incredible both courage and compassion. And in that case, unfortunately not in enough cases, but in that case, it came back to help him greatly because, she was grateful for him and helped him survive. And I think he lived to a very old age. So I'm thinking about what we need in these times right now when it comes to leadership and living. And I think the more volatile a situation is, and there are some crazy things happening out there, it's an opportunity to be courageous and to be brave in small ways and in some ways large ways. But even in small ways, in your work, in your life, in your family, I think about what does it look like to be brave right now for myself and my family and my business and my community and my country and the world. Where can I show up in my bravest way? And we've spent a lot of time in the leadership circles talking about conscious capitalism and servant leadership, and all of those things are still very true. But I think the calling of this time, right now, we need to move into the era of bravery, of courage, because that's what it's going to take to bring a majority together that's working for the people, and a majority that is inclusive of differing opinions on economic policy, on global affairs, on all of that. But we need people who are courageous enough to join with others and really do the work of forming bonds and relationships that will ultimately save us from sinking. And that's the calling of our time. So a little bit heavy going into the Labor Day weekend with that, but it's also hopeful. It's also hopeful because with great disruption comes great opportunity to step up and to have a vision for what could be in the future, and then work really hard to find other people who believe in your vision, even if they see certain things differently, but bring us together for a greater cause. All right. So with that, I hope that stimulates something in you. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend full of rest and meaning and activity and whatever it is that is important to you. Have a great weekend. Thanks for listening all week. Be good to yourself and others, and we'll check back soon. Bye-bye for now.